So I wanted to highlight some of the research we've been doing into decarbonising how we heat our homes. It's not an area that we haven't made much progress on as a country. Our electricity production has actually really improved over the last 5 or 6 years. 5 or 6 years ago, for every kilowatt hour of electricity we used, we were emitting about 550 grams of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Now, that's dropped. So typically at the moment, it's less than 250 grams of carbon dioxide released for every kilowatt hour of electricity we use. So we've more than halved the carbon intensity and the greenhouse penalty of our electricity supply. Heating our homes, though, haven't made much progress on. Most of our homes are still heated by gas or oil boilers. But what we've been working on is ground source heat pumps and innovative ways of connecting those to the ground. So a ground source heat pump works by extracting heat from the ground and then lifting up the temperature to something, a more useful temperature to distribute around a home through underfloor heating or oversized radiators. Now, it takes a bit of electricity to do that lifting, but for every 1 unit of electricity that goes into the heat pump, it can move about 4 units of heat. So even 5 or 6 years ago, with the higher carbon intensity of our electricity production, that would still deliver lower carbon heating than a gas boiler, say. But now that we've really reduced our electricity carbon intensity, that heat pump really can deliver an enormous saving. It can cut your carbon emissions from heating your home by more than 2/3, down to 1/3 of what it was before or more. And that will continue to improve as we continue to decarbonise our electricity production. The barrier, though, is the cost, particularly the cost of connecting that heat pump with the ground. Now, there are different options. Boreholes are probably the best in terms of thermal performance, but drilling a 100-metre hole or a number of 100-metre holes into the ground can really be quite expensive. Other options are laying pipes in shallow trenches in the ground, and the field here behind me was one where that was installed. So that field is heating a home. Trenches 1.2 metres wide, 1.2 metres deep were dug, and pipe was laid in the ground, and that is now heating the home, replacing an oil boiler and really cutting the carbon emissions significantly for that home. But again, it's still quite a lot of work, and not everybody has a field like that they could use to put the pipes in. So we're working on a couple of other interesting options. One of them is mine water. So Cornwall has a load of old mines, and actually when they used to try and access the minerals in the mines, they had to pump water out, dewater the mines so they could access those. Now that mine water, depending on the depth and the geology at the site, can actually be quite warm. Now ground like that is typically at about 10, 11, maybe 12 degrees centigrade, but some of these mines are able to pumping water out at about 20, 25 degrees centigrade. So a normal heat pump, 1 unit of electricity can move 4 units of heat. If you've got heat coming in at 20 degrees centigrade, that 1 unit of electricity can move about 8 units of heat. So significantly better thermal performance. And very exciting to be working with a number of developers who are looking at demonstration schemes of how mine water, disused mine water, could be used to heat homes. Actually, there are other options as well. The mines can also be used for things like energy storage. The shafts can be used to raise or lower weights, or as an underground reservoir for pumped hydro storage. So we're exploring those as well as the access for the ground source heat pumps. Another quite exciting area to reduce the capital cost of installing a ground source heat pump, technically not a ground source heat pump, is using seawater, so a seawater source heat pump. So we've got a couple of projects that are looking at putting a heat exchanger in a bay with a little village around it. Water would be pumped down to the water through the heat exchanger, and then that water from the sea is pumped around the village. Each home would have a heat pump installed, takes that water in through the heat pump and back out into the loop. Considerably lower capital cost. The seawater does get a bit cooler than our nice warm mine water, but actually you've got a very big reservoir, so you can pump more water at a slightly cooler temperature, so you still get very good thermal performance. But the challenge is things like the marinisation of that heat exchanger you're putting in the sea. You don't want it to get covered in barnacles and seaweed too quickly. Make it easy to maintain. So we're working on that, making a reliable system that could work in the sea like that. But nice, very nice to see, and also quite exciting looking at different ownership models. So community ownership schemes where the local community gets a say in how that scheme is run and are able to share some of the benefits and the profits from it.